Hi everyone, Sajid Amit here, and welcome to my review of the Moondrop Horizon, which is a very interesting headphone that unfortunately has been a bit underappreciated. I feel. I mean, look at how pretty it is, right? I mean, this outer grill work and the way it's catching light. I mean, that says everything, right? That's all the reason you need to get this. And it's light, and it's comfortable, and it's not very clampy. It's not clampy at all. And so people are saying it's dark. Is it dark? So guys, so I mean, I'll talk about specs and all that, but I do think that even some of my favorite reviewers, people that who inspired me to get into reviews, I mean, I disagree with when it comes to this headphone because of how we interpret frequent response and that how that might affect how we hear. Because I think honestly speaking, this is something I've always known, right? Because if you see an FR and then so let's say for example, imagine a FR that's like, imagine the Harman target, right? Essentially, you have this sort of sub bass mound, very little mid bass, and then mid smooth glide, and then you have your pin again, and then you have a treble roll off, right? Which a lot of people think is the right way to do treble, which is their prerogative, of course. Now you take that Harman target and you shift it bodily down by, let's say, 5 decibels, 2 decibels, what have you. So instead of the Harman target like going like this, you have the Harman target going a few dB below, right? So a lot of people will see that, right, and map it to Harman, and they might be inclined to say that it's dark, but it's still balanced in the sense that you still have the upper mids relative to the bass, and then you have the treble exactly where you should be. So I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but all I'm saying is, and this was covered I think when Sean Olive talked about how it's really about, and I'm paraphrasing heavily, but it's really about how it's not about a certain part of the frequency spectrum, but it's about how it all comes together. But that to me was, I suppose more or less. I mean, I would intuit as much. So what's happening here is that it's bodily shifted from what the Harman target is, but I still think it's extremely balanced. It's by no means as dark as some people are making out to be. And I want to disclaim and say that's my subjective perception. I don't find it dark. I hear differently. My anatomy makes me hear this differently. But I don't want to do that because I think this is getting vastly underrated. Because I do think it's a really enjoyable headphone. And I'll tell you what happened with this. Like I didn't listen to any reviews of any reviewers when I got this in. I didn't look at the FR. I put this on my warmest sounding amplifier without even knowing that people are saying it's dark. I put this on my Riviera Labs AIC10 and I kept listening to this. And I'll tell you what happened. I was able to listen to every genre under the sun. The bass is what I tend to index for. The bass was very, very extended and punchy and impactful, and I was able to listen to all my rock, alternative rock, metal genres with this, and it sounded lovely. The mid range was working out for me. I did sense the mid range was lush and warm. It sounded beautiful. I listened to female vocals with this. I have a bunch of female vocals now on my playlist, female vocals oriented tracks, and that was just beautiful. I got a sense of space, which is difficult to get from headphones at this price point of $200, because most headphones at this price point of $200, and I don't include the 6XX because this is an outlier. This is a giant killer. If there's any one giant killer in this hobby, it's this headphone. So forget about 6XX. I mean, it's never a fair comparison, I think. But of course, 6XX is better than anything else out there at $200. That's there. But the other thing I noticed is that because I just felt it was very comfortable for me, right? I didn't notice this what a lot of people are saying is an absolute lack of clamp, because I just thought it was comfortable for me. I mean, who cares about clamp? So see, I'll tell you what happens, right? When you don't have clamp, it does affect you when you're listening lying down, because it doesn't slide off, of course, if you're sitting vertically like this. But I listen lying down nowadays. And then if he doesn't have clamp, the slightest head movement can, be off-putting. But I didn't have that issue, so it's not like it's an issue. If anything, it aids the comfort. So yeah, and I was very surprised at the stage. And my Riviera Labs is a $20,000 amplifier, but it's not the widest staging amp. It's wider staging than most amps out there, of course. So don't get me wrong. Before people ask me, why do you have a $20,000 amp if it doesn't stage well? The AIC Labs Riviera Labs, the IC10, such a mouthful. I get it wrong every time. I hate the nomenclature, but anyway, Riviera Labs, the IC10. That amp made it sound very spacious. So then, of course, I wanted to try it with a cheaper device. So I tried this with my SMSL DS20, which I reviewed, and it's a masterclass DAC amp, portable, transportable, for about $200. I want to say $180. Sounded as good. So okay, so where I'm going with this is, and then I realized to myself, like, this is possibly something I want to keep in my rotation. And then I posted about this, and then all of a sudden I saw people commenting and saying, "Hey, but we've heard that this sounds like a $200 cheap Moondrop IM." I don't know what's happening. I think people might be hearing it differently, or people just might be ragging on this or trashing it, because there's a tendency to then congregate on certain headphones that are easy to pick on, and then just trash it, because most of us praise most things we review. So that's there. Reviewers do praise most things we review. But that's also perhaps because we do tend to review things. I mean, I tend to review things that I like. I don't review things that I don't like. Like, I don't review a lot anymore. I'm selective. But anyway, this is really getting not its due love. This is not getting its due love. Just to jump right into its discussion on specs and stuff. Firstly, the looks are phenomenal. This is all metal. You're not going to get a $200 headphone that looks like this. So this is a masterclass in aesthetics. So big shout out to Moondrop for not indulging in derivative aesthetics, copy pasting from Hyphen and the rest of the world. This is its own thing. And the way these drivers are angled is possibly what allows it to have a sense of space. These ear pads are movable, very, very roomy. These things click, but doesn't leave marks on the metal, unlike more expensive Hyphen headphones. Also, it's black, so that's possibly one reason. But I'm not seeing any marks on these sorts of metal bits. This part is what it is. So this is a nice looking headphone, nicely built and constructed. And in terms of its features, I'm reading from so get this from APOS Audio. They work with me. I love APOS Audio. If you have to get this from APOS Audio. I'll leave a link to APOS. That I think needed to be said. APOS is awesome. APOS is amazing. APOS is awesome to work with. Titanium plated, high rigidity polymer dome with dual layer liquid silica gel suspension diaphragm. So that tells you everything you need to know about the diaphragm. Dual 3.5 mm connector, so it will work with a variety of cables you may have lying around. It's high sensitivity and low impedance. Impedance is 32 ohms, which is, I think, standard. Not necessarily low. Sensitivity is 109 decibels, so that's standard. It's easy to drive. And yes, that's all you needed to know. 50 mm ultra high performance dynamic driver unit. So for a dynamic driver, this has great extension and bass. Okay, so what does it sound like? Like I said, it is a very natural, neutral, warm sounding headphone. I don't think it's overly warm. I don't see why it would be construed as overly warm. I mean, if you've listened to a lot of the warm stuff out there, Odyssey LCD4, which people love, it's an iconic classic headphone. If you listen to Dita Perpetua, which was very well loved, I talked about it before people picked up on it, because people saw the FR, didn't see as much pin again, people freaked out. I talked about this on HeadFi, and I do take responsibility, and I claim that I helped popularize Dita Perpetua IM. And then it was all sold out because people loved it. This is one of those things where it's not dark. It's just a warm, beautiful sounding, smooth $200 headphone with great bass extension. It has pin gain. It has been again. There's no massive recession in upper mids. It's just broadly shifted from what Harman Target espouses, which is okay. It's still proportionate in terms of its bass, mids, and treble. Treble, I don't perceive this as being overly rolled off. I think the treble is fine. I don't perceive harsh peaks. Treble is subjective because we do perceive treble differently. So I'll give you that. I don't perceive the harsh peaks at all. I think it's a fairly smooth sounding headphone. And yeah, so that's it, guys. I think this headphone is not getting its due regard. I think it's a beautiful headphone. I think it's great sounding for $200. And that's it. check it out if you can. Give this a listen if you can. Try before you buy, of course, but I think it should be getting more love. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next one. Bye bye.